Hey YouTube. Hey, this is Ron's Fuel Stop with a thought, hopefully uplifting thought for you. And I want to talk about seasons of life. But speaking of seasons, I love this time of year. And Tucker's not so sure about this time of year actually right now. Turn the CB down. Because we got a spring storm. Oh, I like these spring storms, especially if we're parked. And here we are in Franklin, Ohio. Drove up today from down in Kentucky and Tennessee, up from Nashville actually. Started out in Hopkinsville, in Nashville, and then up through the mountains, and came across a tree in the freeway on I-71. It seems like it's impossible to go from Louisville to Cincinnati without some kind of something happening that locks up traffic every time. This time, bad storm, and a tree falls across the freeway, stalls traffic for several hours. And I drove through that storm, and then I got here in Franklin, Ohio, and I think the storm caught up, or it's another wave of it. Anyway, I love the seasons. We're moving now from winter, which has a lot of danger, especially for the trucker, because you take hard rubber and put it on top of snow and ice at 60 miles an hour with 45,000 pounds of freight in addition to the weight of your truck, and scary things can happen, which you've seen on the news and I've seen up close and personal. But anyway, I'm going to talk about, you really can't control the seasons, and the seasons are, every one of them has its beauty. Like, I love a fresh fallen snow. I think it's just phenomenal. Just covers everything and makes it all pure and white. And I also like, the leaves in the fall. And there's nothing like a hot summer night. And you think about, well, at least this is sure better than the winter when you're freezing. I just love all the variation, and when you're driving truck, you kind of go from one to the other, especially this time of year. It's still frozen up north, hardly got any leaves on the trees. And then down where I've been, the dandelions are done, the flowers are in full bloom, and grass is, if they haven't been cut, it's a foot tall. And I saw grain yesterday that had already turned golden, and it's just, it's one of the beautiful things about truck driving. But speaking of seasons, there's also, seasons of life. And I've kind of moved into a season, midlife, post-midlife, something they would call, late summer, early autumn. My parents, they're definitely in their winter. They're in their 80s, and things are very different for them. But it's a season of life, and you have to learn to accept it. Are you willing to move on? But the season I've been in is, it teeters back and forth. It kind of goes from late summer, harvest, to fall, early frost. And maybe you found that to happen as well. What we do in our country when we don't like a season is we travel to a different part of the country, and when we travel to a different part of the country, we get a different season. But what do we do about excuse me, Tucker. What do we do about our when our life is in a season that we don't like? I mean, on the one hand, we accept it, right? We say, okay, I'm in this different season of life, and I gotta accept it. But on the other hand, is there any traveling is there any way to, kind of adjust my season? Um, I think there is. I've been thinking about this week, and it seems like we're in charge of our minds, and one way to illustrate this is having kids. So, I love everybody, and I think, not everybody is meant to have kids, but you can always tell somebody that's in their 30s or 40s that doesn't have kids, they're starting to get set in their ways. But somebody that has kids in their 30s and 40s, they have to brush up on the culture of elementary school and junior high and high school. They have to do things that actually make them younger. And then another season happens, right when you're starting to get really settled in your ways, and then grandkids come, and it's back to a whole new version of video games and different kinds of movies and books, different activities. My wife and I often talk about we want to stay fit enough to play with our grandkids, when they're getting older, to go on hikes and to do fun things with them. It's a motivation to stay fit. So this truck stop is getting really full, and it's very tight, very hard to get in the spots. People come and they try for a while and then they give up. But anyway, last time I talked about overcoming light depression, or how you get out of that rut of stinking thinking, and that you do the things that make you you do the things, and for me, one of them is I love to listen to jazz, and I can listen to jazz and it just chills me out and makes me have a new outlook on life. But there's those things that we did a decade, 2 decades ago, that were part of who we are, and sometimes we just dismiss them and we leave them in the past, and that allows us to, advance into a new season that we don't really belong in yet. You get old in your thinking, and you're not really even old yet. I want to resist that. I'm always trying to learn new things. I'm out here in an environment, you guys who are driving trucks, sometimes we get real set in our ways. We're by ourselves. It's really easy to become just very set in your ways. And I would say hard not to, because it's just you can please yourself all the time. And freight is part of the schedule, but you can also set your schedule, and adjusting willfully is a fulfilling thing. So I don't know if I'm going to post this or not. It's sounding kind of corny in a way, but it really does represent something that I've been thinking. What about Ron launching into a new spring? That he could do some things in his life. I'm talking third person here, but that I could do some things in my life. You could do some things in your life that move you back into another spring and summer, another round of new things and excitement. And for me, this trucking has been one of those. But now I'm thinking, how can I do better? How can I do better on my loads? How can I not lose my way of digging into information that I want to know? I love to research things and to find out. I love to be like an authority on something. So whether it's researching different kind of diesel engines that I might want in my next truck, or not losing the theological things that I have mined and that I have drawn from other people and from the Word of God and from experience, that I continue to study the unfolding wisdom of God. I know that we're supposed to learn, from the Bible. And the Bible, as you know, is an unfolding of thousands of books that have come together. And an ongoing discovery, as in the recent discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which gave us additional information and confirmation of the Word of God. And history that has come about in archaeological digs that have been found that verify the Word of God, but help us to understand culturally how things were in the day, which help us interpret the Word of God in the Bible in different ways. So I don't want to get stuck in my decade of my 50s and in my way of thinking. I also don't want to get stuck in my theology, my spirituality, that I am willing to fight and die for a way I thought 20, 30, 40 years ago, when there's a lot more information. I'm talking about truth. All truth is God's truth, an old saying from a college I went to in the 70s and 80s. And so what am I afraid of discovering that's true? It's also a part of what God knows, and also a part of His Word. Not adding a jot or a tittle, but coming into understanding of truth that is already known. So, I would say, let's continue to grow in our professions. If you're a trucker, continue to grow in what you know and understand, and whatever your profession or skill set, that you would sharpen it, that you would look at it one more time. See, am I the best at this? I was, but now what do I need to do to stay sharp? And if you're a Christian, may you not be a person who is so stuck in all of your ways that no one can stand you. May you be a person that is always seeking knowledge and always seeking to grow, like a newborn babe. That was a big thunder right there. So me and Tucker, we might go hide under the sheets for a while. Anyway, think about what I said. I know it's kind of rambling and stuff, but hey, that's what we do here on Ron's Fuel Stop. So, like they say, keep the rubber side down and pace yourself so that you can stay sharp. This is Ron's Fuel Stop. Good day. Yeah, this is definitely one of the things I enjoy about having Tucker with, is that he gets me out of the truck more often and gets me chasing him around. Usually it would just take long enough to go to the bathroom and get back in the truck, but if I leave him out very long, like I just have, like more than 10 minutes, he starts to hunt. Tall grass, he goes springing up and down through it. Right up over here, he found moles, and so he's got himself all muddy, which is great. Anyway, I found this nice little spot, and we're just taking a 30-minute break here at the Fast Break. We're in southern Indiana, almost down to Evanston, headed toward Kentucky, Hopkinsville. I'm being pulled very hard here. Can't believe how strong this guy is. 25 pounds, and he transfers his weight at least into probably 75 pounds by his muscles. Anyway, just checking in.